Bachelor Monday. We're coming up a few weeks out of hometowns. Man, I can't wait. Who do you think's gonna make it to hometowns?
I have no idea what you're talking about, but none. Welcome back to another episode of Those Two Dudes. That's that dude Ruben.
It's that dude Josh. We're in mid-February. When do the conference tournaments start?
So I believe they got.
End
I
of
know.
February,
I
early
know for
March.
the Sun Belt. I know they got next week and the week after, and I'm guessing most conferences are probably somewhere in that same range as far as regular season goes. But probably 2, maybe 3 weeks, depending on the conference. But 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, and they're gonna be doing the tournament basically like in a bubble format in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah, all the games will be in Indianapolis for the guys, and then all the games are, I believe, in Texas for the women.
I think they're in San Antonio.
Yeah, I know, and I know one of the host sites is right here in San Marcos. They're hosting here at Strahan. They're hosting one of the, I guess, I don't know what round, first, second round, or whatever.
Nice.
But, yeah, it's all in Texas for the women. On the men's side, it could be wide open this year. I mean, you got Duke, who probably won't even make the tournament. You got North Carolina, who might. They're on the bubble. Kentucky probably won't make it. Kansas ain't doing as good as they usually do this year, so it seems pretty open. I mean, I know you got Baylor and Gonzaga up there on top, probably the clear 1 and 2 teams in the nation. But other than that, I don't know. It seems pretty open this year compared to other years.
It does seem pretty open too, and just like you said, right? I've seen Gonzaga destroying teams all year long, and they have played good teams at that. But yeah, Kansas is not in the top 25. Kentucky's not doing good. Duke's not doing good.
Yeah, all the Blue Bloods are kind of struggling this year. You got Gonzaga, Baylor, Iowa. So you got other teams in the mix this year compared to the usual Blue Bloods. So it should be an exciting March.
I think it is pretty wide open. I think it's one of those years where a couple years ago, UConn and Kentucky made it to the championship game, and they were both, like an 8-9 seed, something like that. So I think it's one of those years where definitely between a 3 and 7 seed, my guess, could essentially be in the championship game. And it wouldn't be a surprise because it is a very wide open year. Because it's a wide open year, and because of Gonzaga is always there year after year, you figure this has to be their year. If not this year, then when?
Right. Them, maybe Houston.
Maybe Baylor. Baylor's up there, though, too. Baylor's really good.
Yeah, they're stacked. Yeah, Baylor's stacked. Some people think they're the number 1 team, but I don't know. If it comes down to Baylor and Gonzaga, who would you be rooting for?
Man, I would be rooting for Gonzaga just because they have the history of consistency with Mark Few. I know they were supposed to play earlier this year. That game got canceled because of COVID. Assuming the tournament starts tomorrow, who you got?
I think Gonzaga, they're stacked. I think they had one of the best recruiting classes, if not their best, this past year. I can't think of old dude's name at the top of my head, but he's a freshman. I think he's supposed to be a top 4 pick this year. But they're stacked, top to bottom. This is their deep. I think this is their probably deepest squad they've had. Okay. What about you? Okay. And also, is there any sleeper teams? Do you see any sleeper teams off top right now?
Sleeper teams. So I definitely got Gonzaga because we've been talking about Gonzaga and Baylor. We've been hyping them up as, team 1, team 2, basically 1A and 1B, and then there's everybody else. A sleeper team that I think is out there that isn't necessarily a sleeper team only because we haven't talked about them yet, but Virginia. They've been to the national championship. They won the national championship.
If you remember, they're actually the defending national champions.
They are the defending national champions
last year.
They beat Texas Tech last year.
No, the year before, but there wasn't no tournament. So.
Yeah. Well, the last championship that was played was against Tech. Yeah.
If there's a mid-major besides like Houston, Gonzaga, those top couple schools, then I'm probably going with Loyola.
On the topic of basketball, obviously we have to talk a little bit about the NBA. We haven't touched much on that. Seems like a weird season. Obviously, the most surprising team this year is the Utah Jazz. But it shouldn't be surprising because on paper that team is looking really good, and they got one of my favorite coaches in Quinn Snyder. Love Quinn Snyder. Utah Jazz have been killing it. They're the 1 seed in the West right now, and Wouldn't you know it, ESPN does not talk about them enough.
No,
They rarely
because
do.
they're
And I'm
Utah.
sure that's how Utah likes it. That's how San Antonio liked it back in our heyday.
Did they win
You know,
today? They played today, didn't
they
they? Or
did.
they're
They
playing
did. We
right now.
won. We won by
They
I
won.
think 12 or 13 against Charlotte, which is
Okay,
another
so they're
team that
16 and
really
11
bothers
now.
me. Yeah, we're 16 and 11. One team that really bothers me is Charlotte Hornets, and it's not Charlotte's fault. It's ESPN's fault because they are shoving LaMelo Ball down our throat, and I hate it. They post anything Instagram related for him just doing just a little assist on a fast break, and then say, "Oh, you can't stop LaMelo." Well, you can stop him. They're 13 and 15. The dude's shooting like 30%. Like, yeah, you can stop them. They're not that good.
One thing about Charlotte I do like though is their uniforms. I know we wanted to have a separate video about that, about best uniforms in sports, but I think they got some of the top unis in the NBA.
For sure, yeah, and that's a whole nother conversation about the uniforms that we love, because obviously I think the top of the mountain of uniforms is 90s uniforms, and this goes for almost all sports. That's for a conversation for another time. But the Charlotte Hornets uniforms are straight fire. I love them. I think there are 3 serious contenders. It's the Jazz. I think they're a serious contender. The Lakers and the Clippers.
I think the Jazz are a legitimate contender. If they win it, they're going to have to be one of those teams that plays a complete team, kind of a la Detroit Pistons of 03 or whatever it was. 03,
just straight
04,
team basketball.
Yeah, straight team basketball.
But then also, right,
they got a nice
you
squad.
talk about how can you talk about the Pistons and not talk about the Spurs? The 20,
right, same type
14
thing, especially kind of like their 14 run when Kawhi wasn't quite ready to be a superstar yet.
Yeah. We agree on this. We agree on what we like in what kind of teams we like in the NBA. We hate the whole buddy system that's going on with all these teams.
Yeah, I don't like it either. It seems too WWE-ish, too scriptish for me. Like, I don't know. I don't like it. But yeah, every now and then when you got a team like the Mavericks from, 11 when they came through, the 14 Spurs, the 04 Pistons, those are always fun years. So hopefully that's another year like this year. It could be.
I think that in the West it is the Jazz, the Lakers, and the Clippers. Obviously the Clippers were a huge embarrassment last playoffs, losing that 3-1 series lead to Denver.
What about out east?
I'm looking at 4. I'm looking at Philly, who's the 1 seed right now. They got Doc Rivers. That team's been playing really well together. Brooklyn Nets, obviously they acquired James Harden. Kevin Durant is healthy. Kyrie is healthy. They are starting to play well together. And then Boston. Boston is always going to be up there. As long as Brad Stevens is coach, I think Boston has a chance. And then another one is Milwaukee. Milwaukee's probably 4th on that list. I know Giannis signed that massive contract. My guess is by end of next season, the Greek Freak is going to realize that was a mistake.
It's tough because who wants to play in Milwaukee? So it's like, they got to get another star, really.
They have
think
to
about
get
it. Either that or the Greek Freak's going to have to become a better shooter.
They just had a game the other day against Phoenix, and I think it was either against Phoenix or Atlanta, and it came down to the last shot, and Giannis had the ball. And he had a jump shot and he missed it. They asked him what they thought about the last possession with the ball in Giannis's hands. And they said, and I quote, "With him shooting the last shot, we like our chances." So that says everything you need to know about how they feel about him as a player.
Sadly, I think the Nets are going to come out of the East. I'm not rooting for them whatsoever, but I think it's going to be them. They got too much firepower. The East, like you said, Milwaukee, they got the Greek Freak, but he can't shoot great. They don't have any other stars around them. You got Boston that just kind of, I don't know, man. I'm just waiting for them to take that next step. They have pieces like Tatum and whatnot that I think could be he has the potential to be a superstar, I think, but they haven't taken that next step yet. So, maybe Boston could challenge them. But yeah, I think the Nets are that team. And I'm not really a huge Philly fan either. Their best players in Embiid. It's hard to win with a big man being your best player in today's NBA. Simmons, he can't shoot. So I don't know. I think it's down to, I think it's the Nets, but I think if anybody might be able to challenge, it might be Boston.
A lot of basketball to be played. The East doesn't really look that stacked like the West. It seems to be the West is always stacked. That's no different this year. The Nets are probably going to pull it. Philly, they don't have a lot of shooters. Milwaukee, they don't have shooting, period. Except Chris Middleton. And then Boston, I love Boston. I love the Celtics, love Brad Stevens, love Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kimball Walker. But they've always been that team that have just been right there. They just can't get over that hump.
Right.
And that team has pretty much stayed the same. I know they signed Tristan Thompson, but he's already fading away from his glory days. So
I think it really just comes down to somebody like maybe probably Tatum taking that next step, just from like all-star to superstar.
Yeah.
If he does that, then they'll be able to compete with the Nets possibly. Especially this being the Nets' first year kind of together. They just threw themselves together a team in the middle of the year basically. So we'll see.
Tomorrow's Monday, so you know what that means. Bachelor Monday. Super pumped. Bachelor Monday. We're coming up a few weeks out of hometowns. Man, I can't wait. Who do you think's gonna make it to hometowns?
I have no idea what you're talking about, but none.
Hometowns.
What is that?
It's where the Bachelor, Matt James, he chooses 4 girls. He goes to each one of their hometowns to meet the ladies' families. I get DMs all the time of people asking us, when are y'all going to talk about The Bachelor? This is a historic season in The Bachelor. Who's Matt James going to pick? Who's going to hometowns?
If y'all say y'all want to talk about that, I'll watch a few episodes to get caught back up. But I'm guessing that I'm not going to have to watch any. Well, that about wraps it up, you guys. Let us know what y'all have on y'all's mind as far as what's going on in the sports world. Anything y'all want us to talk about, let us know. Put it in the comments section. That's been that dude, Ruben.
And that's that dude, Josh. Let us know what y'all want to hear.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. And see you later, guys.